Good morning students, how are you all? I hope you all are fine and safe at home. Myself Shweta Mudgal, a representative of Shiv Jyoti Educational Group Kota. Students, in this video we will cover the revision part of Civics chapter 7 and Geography chapter 6. Let's start. So students, first of all, we will start with Geography chapter 6, that is Human Resources. We have already covered this chapter in video, but today we are going to cover the revision part of this chapter. So let's have a quick recap of this chapter. Okay, points to remember. First of all, we will talk about introduction, then distribution of population, density of population, factors affecting distribution of population, population change and patterns of population change and population composition. Okay, let's start with the introduction. As we are talking about human resources, human resources is a ultimate resource. Okay students, it is a ultimate resource. Why it's so? Because it is a asset for any country. Human resources, we human are our resources. With our skills, knowledge, invention and techniques, human beings convert the nature's gift which is given to us by nature directly into useful resources. Like what is given to us by the nature directly, and we human beings convert it in making furniture. मेडिसिनल हर्ब्स दिए हुए हैं हमको, वी कन्वर्टेड इनटू मेडिसिन्स. वायर्स, कॉपर दिए हुए हैं, इनसे किस तरीके से एल्यूमिनियम से यूटेंसिल्स ऑटोमोबाइल्स बनाना. सो वी कैन से दैट वी ह्यूमन बींग्स आर अ अल्टीमेट रिसोर्स फॉर अ कंट्री. गवर्नमेंट ऑल्सो टुक many efforts to improve the human resource as it is a asset for any country. ठीक है. Now human resources development was also started, and the main aim of the Ministry of Human Resources Development was to improve the skills of people. ठीक है. Now the next we are going to talk about the distribution of population. In this topic, what does the mean of distribution of population means? The way in which people spread across the earth's surface is called distribution of population. And we can say the distribution of population is not even, it is uneven. Why it's so? Because somewhere it is sparsely populated and somewhere it is densely populated. Students, if we talk about then 75% of the world's population live only on 2 continents, that is Asia and Europe. And the next is 90% of the total population lives in just 30% of the area. So we can say that population is not evenly distributed over the surface of the earth. ठीक है. Now the next is 60% of the people live in only 10 countries. I am just telling you to prove that the distribution of population is not equal. The next, density of population. If we talk about density of population, means that the people living in per square kilometer, or we can say that the number of people, the density of population means number of people living in a unit area of earth's surface is called density of population. The average density of population in the world is 25 person per square kilometer. ठीक है. 25% per square kilometer, the average density of world. If we talk about India, it is recent, in your book it is written 382, but it is 384 now. ठीक है. Now we will talk about the next factor, next topic that is to be remembered by you. Number 3, फैक्टर्स अफेक्टिंग डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन ऑफ पॉपुलेशन। वो कौन कौन से फैक्टर्स हैं जो कि अफेक्ट करते हैं पॉपुलेशन डिस्ट्रीब्यूट को? वी कैन कैटेगराइज देम इनटू टू। नंबर वन, दैट इज ज्योग्राफिकल फैक्टर, and number two is economic, social and cultural. It can further be classified into topography, soil, mineral, water. Okay students, now the next we will talk about population change. Can you guess any idea? Population change. Students, the term population change refers to the way in which the population change, the way in which population change or the number of the people change over during a specific period of time, that calls population change. Why it's so? Population क्यों change हो सकती है बेटा? The two or three major reasons are death rate, birth rate and migration. So we will talk about death rate, birth rate, birth rate means number of births per 1000 people, ठीक है? Okay, and number of deaths per 1000 people is called death rate. Now the natural growth rate. Natural growth rate is the difference between birth rate and death rate. Okay students, I am writing in a short form BR and DR, that is population change. Now the next is patterns of population change. Although the world's population is changing rapidly, or we can say it is increasing rapidly, but not all the countries are experiencing the same. In your book, two examples are given. One is of Kenya and second is of UK. ठीक है, right? In Kenya there is high population growth rate. Why so? Because they had both the birth rate and death rate high. यहाँ पे birth rate और death rate दोनों ही ज़्यादा हैं. Although the death rate is being controlled by some health facilities, but the birth rate is still high. If we talk about UK, population growth is slowing. In UK, population growth rate is slowing because of low birth rate and death rate. Clear? Next and the last topic, that is population composition. What is population composition? If we talk about population composition helps us to know how many males and females are there in a country, how educated they are, which age group they belongs to, and what type of employment they are doing, means in which type of work they are employed in. Okay, this and the last is employment. Okay. So the points to remember is covered here. Now we will discuss the internal and the copy questions of this chapter. So students, let's start with the internal questions of Geography chapter 6, that is human resources. Question number 1. What do you mean by the pattern of population distribution? The way in which people are spread across the Earth's surface is known as the pattern of population distribution. As I have just told you that the population distribution is not even, they are unevenly distributed. Number 2, define emigration. Emigration means when a person leaves a country. जब person country को छोड़ के जाता है, that is called emigration or exit means, है ना. Number 3, define immigration. Page number 70. Immigration means when a person enters a new country. We will start with very short answer type questions. Question number 1. The world population has grown very rapidly. Why? What is the reason of the population growth very rapidly? The world population has grown very rapidly because of rapid increase in natural growth rate, eradication of deadly diseases and migration of people. The reasons are number 1, increase in natural growth rate means difference between birth rate and death rate. ठीक है, अगर ये बढ़ जाती है तो पॉपुलेशन बढ़ जाती है. नाउ इरेडिकेशन ऑफ डेडली डिजीजेस की वजह से क्या हुआ बेटा? इरेडिकेशन ऑफ डेडली डिजीजेस एंड द माइग्रेशन ऑफ पीपल मीन्स द मूविंग ऑफ पीपल फ्रॉम वन पार्ट टू अनदर इज कॉल्ड माइग्रेशन. क्लियर? नाउ द शॉर्ट आंसर टाइप क्वेश्चन. Why people are considered a resource? Not only a resource but the ultimate resource we can say. People are our nation's greatest resource. Nature's bounty becomes significant only when people find it useful. Healthy, educated and motivated people develop resources as per their requirements. बेटा अगर human being skill, उनकी स्किल, नॉलेज, इन्वेंशन, क्रिएशन अगर नहीं होगी तो नेचर ने जो हमको फ्री बाउंटी, जो फ्री गिफ्ट दिया है, वी कैन नॉट यूटिलाइज इट विदाउट द एफर्ट ऑफ ह्यूमन बींग्स. दैट्स वाई वी कैन से दैट पीपल आर कंसिडर्ड एज अ अल्टीमेट रिसोर्स और अ एसेट फॉर अ कंट्री. नंबर 2. What is meant by population composition? The term population composition I have just explained you. Population composition refers to the structure of the population. Population का structure किस type का है? The composition of population helps us to know how many are males or females, which age group they belong to, how educated they are and what their income levels and conditions are, means in which type of employment they are. ठीक है? Now question 3, discuss the role of any two factors influencing population change. I have told you the two factors, number 1 is and death and the another is migration. Two reasons, birth and death. These are the natural causes of population change. Example, if the birth rate rises, अगर birth rate बढ़ रही है और death rate कम हो रही है, it leads to a high growth rate. Population बढ़ेगी, birth rate तो ज़्यादा हो रही है. ठीक है, तो birth and the death are responsible for growth rate, population growth rate we can say. Number 2, migration. Emigration influence the population change. People may move within a country or between the countries. In both ways it leads to change in population. बेटा employment के लिए urban area से rural area से लोग urban area में जाते हैं. And the question number 4 is, what are population pyramids? How do they help in understanding about the population of a country? आपके बुक में बहुत सारे ग्राफ्स में पॉपुलेशन पिरामिड्स को शो कर रखा है. वो हमें बताते हैं कि कंट्री में किस टाइप के लोग रहते हैं, मेल फीमेल्स का नंबर कितना है, एजुकेटेड अनएजुकेटेड लोगों का नंबर कितना है. तो इसका एक आइडिया हमको पॉपुलेशन पिरामिड से ही मिलता है. The graphical illustration that is used for studying the population composition of a country is called population pyramids. It helps in understanding and knowing the, कैसे? Number 1, the present number of males and females in a country along with their age group. बेटा एक बार बना हुआ, एक ग्राफ बना हुआ होता है जिसके एक साइड में हमको एज और एक साइड में मेल और फीमेल एक्स और वाई एक्सिस पे शो करके उससे हमें पता चलता है उस पॉपुलेशन पिरामिड से कि नंबर ऑफ मेल्स एंड फीमेल्स इन पर्टिकुलर कंट्री कितना है. The age group distribution of population tells us the number of dependents and the number of economically active individuals present in the population. बेटा dependents means जो कि elderly people हैं और बच्चे हैं, they are dependent. और जो बीच का एक age group है who is active participants of the country and who are earning or an asset for a country, है ना, दे आर इकोनॉमिकली एक्टिव इंडिविजुअल्स. तो एज ग्रुप से देखने से हमें आइडिया लग जाता है कि अगर मिडिल ग्रुप ज़्यादा है तो हम बोलेंगे कि उस कंट्री में इकोनॉमिकली एक्टिव पीपल ज़्यादा हैं, और अगर 0 to 4 या 0 to 10 और 65 प्लस ज़्यादा है तो हम बोलेंगे नंबर ऑफ डिपेंडेंट्स ज़्यादा हैं. ठीक है. द ब्रॉड बॉटम शोज बर्थ रेट एंड द साइज टूवर्ड्स टॉप शोज डेथ रेट. And the very long answer type question. What are the causes for the uneven distribution of population in the world? हमने ये तो बताया कि population distribution uneven है, पर उसकी causes क्या हैं, factors क्या हैं? There are various reasons behind uneven distribution of population are number 1 geographical factors, social and cultural factors and economic factors. I have just told you. Now I am going to explain you. Number 1 geographical factors. बेटा क्या होता है, लोग कहाँ रहना पसंद करते हैं? जहाँ पर कि उनके लिए suitable living conditions हो, water availability हो, temperature moderate हो. ठीक है. Favorable topography, availability of mineral and fresh water resources, favorable climate and soil fertility, and some of the reasons affecting population distribution. Example, Indo-Gangetic Plain, diamond mines of South Africa, etc. are densely populated. ये एरिया गैंगेटिक प्लेन्स का, नॉर्दर्न प्लेन्स का ज़्यादा पॉपुलेटेड क्यों है, पॉपुलेशन यहाँ पर ज़्यादा क्यों है? क्योंकि यहाँ पर ये सब सुटेबल सर्वाइवल कंडीशंस अवेलेबल हैं. People prefer to live in these type of places. Number 2, social and cultural factors. This is also a very important factor. Areas of better housing, जहाँ पर रहने की facilities अच्छी मिलेंगी, people will prefer to live there. Education, health facilities and places with cultural significance attract people and are more populated. Third factor, economic factor. Places having more industries, जहाँ पर बहुत ज़्यादा industries होंगी, that will give a source of livelihood, earning to the people, and people would prefer to live in that places only. Transportation and communication facilities provide better employment opportunities. So people would prefer to live in the places where they could get better employment opportunities. So we finish our chapter here. Read it carefully. So students, let's start with the revision part of Civics chapter 7, that is understanding marginalization. We have covered this chapter in a previous video. Now we are going to start with the revision part of this chapter, and the points to remember is, what does it mean to be socially marginalized? Who are Adivasis? Adivasis and stereotyping, Adivasis and development, minorities and marginalization, Muslims and marginalization. Let's start with, what does it mean to be socially marginalized? We are going to start the recap of this chapter. Quick recap. Now in this chapter we will read about the two marginalized groups. Number 1 is Adivasis and the second is Muslims. Let's start. Who are Adivasis? The term Adivasis literally means original inhabitants. ठीक है, the person who live there in the forest and tend to live in forest, they live in forest. If we talk about India, about 8% of the India's population are Adivasis. Okay students, and they are not a homogeneous. There are more than 500 different groups of Adivasis in India. Most of the mining and the industrial sectors or centers in India are located in Adivasis areas like Jamshedpur, Raulkela. ठीक है? Okay students, now they practice a range of tribal religions which is different from Islam, Hinduism and Christianity. They have been influenced by the different religious surroundings like Bhakti, Shakta, Buddhism, Vaishnav and Christianity, and they were also influenced by the mountain spirits, river spirits and nature spirits, and they worship their ancestors. They are Adivasis. So we have covered the meaning of marginalization. What are Adivasis? Now Adivasis and stereotyping. Students, the term stereotyping are characteristic which is imposed upon a group of people because of their race, nationality and sex orientation among others. Okay, so we can say that stereotyping is a characteristic that imposed upon a group of people because of their race, nationality and sex orientation among others. If we talk about Adivasis, they are invariably portrayed in very stereotypical ways. We can say them dancing, wearing a headgears and in a colorful costumes that make them different from the main community. Okay students, now we will cover the next topic, that is Adivasis and development. Students, forests played a crucial role in the development of empires and the settled civilization. ठीक है? Because it provides us wax, medicinal herbs, honey, timber. ठीक है? So we can say that forests played a crucial role in the development, and moreover Adivasis had a deep knowledge about the forest. Even the empires were depending on them for the crucial access to the forest. ठीक है? They had a deep knowledge. Now they, at that time, if we talk about pre-colonial world, they were considered as hunter gatherers or nomads. What happened student, at that time they were forced to leave their place. उनसे ज़बरदस्ती साइन करवा के उस जगह को खाली कराने के लिए बोला गया. Why it's so? Because the land was required for timber, for agricultural purposes, for industries and to set up factories by the government or some private groups. ठीक है? But losing their lands means losing their livelihood. They lost their customs, traditions, their children become malnourished, they couldn't get proper education. So we can say that they suffered a lot at that time. Now the second last topic is minorities and marginalization. Students, if we talk about minorities, is a term that is referred to the communities that are numerically small in relation to the rest of the population. I am again telling you, the word minorities is a term used to refer to the communities that are numerically small in comparison to the rest population. Okay, as I have told you that there are only 8% of Adivasis in India of the total population, and if we talk about Muslim, they are only 14.2%. That's why they consider marginalized group. Okay, students. But the government has provided safeguards certain safeguards to the minority groups to protect them from the domination of a majority group. They cannot be dominated by government ने उसके लिए उनको रिजर्वेशन, जॉब सिक्योर में भी रिजर्वेशन राइज करने का चांसेस सब दिया हुआ है. Now the last is Muslims and marginalization. As I have told you that Muslims are 14.2% of the total India's population. That's why they come under the category of marginalization. And their customs, the way they wear, their wearing style, they wear fetch or burqa, that make them different from the mainstream, and they tend to be identified differently. So student, here the government has set up a committee that was chaired by Justice Rajinder Sachar to examine the economic and the cultural scene of the Muslims in India. It is given in your book. I am going to read it for you. You can underline it. That is page number 89. The government set up a high-level committee in 2005, chaired by Justice Rajinder Sachar. The committee examined social, economic and educational status of Muslim community in India. जब उसकी रिपोर्ट आई तो क्या रिजल्ट आया बेटा? According to the report of average years of schooling for Muslim children between the age of 17 to 16 is much lower than that of other social religious communities. ठीक है students, now we have finished our chapter. We have covered all the points. Now let's discuss the internal and the copy questions of this chapter. So students, let's start with the internal and the copy questions of Civics chapter 7, that is understanding marginalization. Okay. Question number 1. Question number 1. Which tribal language has the largest number of speakers in India? बेटा जो ट्राइबल ग्रुप्स हैं उनकी अपनी लैंग्वेज है, बहुत सारी लैंग्वेजेस में वो लोग बोलते हैं, उनमें से कौन सी सबसे ज़्यादा बोले जाने वाली है? वो इंडियन लैंग्वेजेस लाइक बंगाली एंड संथली हैज़ द लार्जेस्ट नंबर ऑफ स्पीकर्स, बंगाली एंड संथली. ठीक है. क्वेश्चन नंबर 2. वेयर इज नियमगिरी हिल लोकेटेड? नियमगिरी हिल इज लोकेटेड इन कालाहांडी डिस्ट्रिक्ट ऑफ ओडिशा. क्वेश्चन नंबर 3. Who chaired the high-level committee set up by the government in 2005? The government of India set up a high-level committee to examine the economic, cultural and educational of Muslim community in India, and it was chaired by Justice Rajinder Sachar. Very short answer type question. Question number 1. What do you understand by the word marginalization? What do you understand? The term marginalization refers to the situation in which an individual or group of individuals is deprived of certain privileges or treated as different from others. Means we can say they are excluded from the mainstream, they are not at the center of things. Question 2. What do you understand by the term minority? Please understand, try to understand the difference between marginalization and minority. As it is clear from the word we are talking about The term minority is most commonly used to refer to the communities that are numerically small in relation to the rest population. अगर हम नंबर के अकॉर्डिंग काउंट करें तो वो पीपल ग्रुप ऑफ पीपल विच इज स्मॉल इन कंपैरिजन टू द रेस्ट कम्युनिटी. सपोज 100% पॉपुलेशन में अगर हम देखें तो वो अगर 13, 14, 8, 9, 10% हैं, उस कम्युनिटी को हम माइनॉरिटी बोलेंगे. क्वेश्चन नंबर 3. List 2 reasons why Adivasis are becoming increasingly marginalized. The 2 reasons why Adivasis are becoming increasingly marginalized means why they are not at the centers of thing, why they are not at center of thing, and why they are excluded from the mainstream, why they come under the category of marginalized group. The reason is they lived in areas rich in minerals and natural resources. Number 2, huge tracts of their land have also been built in independent India. Question number 4. Short answer type question. Write one reason why you think the Constitution's safeguard to protect minority communities are very important. Student, first of all, I would like to tell you that our government has given some safeguards to the minority groups to protect them from the domination of a majority group. That is very good task, we can say, very good work done by our government to keep them safe and not to feel them neglected. बहुत सारे रिजर्वेशंस उनको दिए गए हैं जॉब्स में, रिक्रूटमेंट्स में. Safeguards are needed to protect minority communities against the possibility of being culturally dominated by the majority and being marginalized. Means they cannot be dominated by the majority group. For that, to protect themselves, the safeguards are provided by the government of India. Now, question number 5. List 3 things about the life of Adivasis in India. Number 1, Adivasis have a distinct culture of their own that is different from the mainstream, or we can say the majority communities. They speak in their own language, as I have just told you, Bengali, Santhali and some other languages also, and they live in hilly terrains or forested areas. Okay? They tend to live in forested areas. Question number 6, would you agree with the statement that economic marginalization and social marginalization are interlinked? Why? Is it? Yes. Yes, economic and social marginalization are interlinked. They are interconnected, interlinked. Okay students, now let's start with the question number 6, that is long answer type question. Would you agree with the statement that economic marginalization and social marginalization are interlinked? Why? Yes students, economic and social marginalization are interlinked. When Adivasis were displaced from their lands, they lost much more than a source of income. Students, they were asked to vacate the place, their lands where they were living, because they wanted to set up industries, factories there. They lost much more than a source of income. ना केवल उनका source of income गया, but they lost their customs, their traditions, a way of living, and the society does not experience the fruits of social development. बेटा जब तक ऐसा नहीं होगा कि इकोनॉमिक और सोशल दोनों इक्वलिटी मिलेंगी, तब तक पूरा बेनिफिट नहीं मिल पाएगा. दे रिमेन बैकवर्ड, वो पिछड़ गए. डिस्ट्रक्शन इन वन स्पेयर इम्पैक्ट्स द अदर. किसी भी एक स्पेयर में अगर डिस्ट्रक्शन होगा तो वो दूसरे को भी अफेक्ट करेगा डेफिनेटली. सो वी हैव कवर्ड all the questions here. Read it carefully. So students, here we have covered the revision part of Civics chapter 7 and Geography chapter 6. Read it carefully. I hope you understood the chapter. Thank you so much.